Okay, so welcome back everybody to the channel, and today's kind of an exciting day because the format of the video is going to be a little bit different. This video has been quite a long time coming, and I just wanted to share with you guys all of the amazing photographs and the cool stuff that was graciously given to me by the public library in Charleston. And for the most part today, I'm not really going to talk about the history and the information that I've gotten from the research that I've been doing lately. This is more or less just kind of a look through the photographs, giving some hot takes, comparing them, the photos to where the building is today, and that kind of thing. So I want this to be the first of a three-part video, and next week I'll be posting a video about the scrapbook or the journal that the editor of the local paper made. It is incredibly beautiful. It is really interesting, and the reading is really cool. And you guys, that's really something to see. So that'll be next week. And then part three is going to be sharing a lot of the research and the history that's been going on kind of behind the scenes with the help of one of the viewers, one of the YouTube community. So I've had a lot of stuff provided to me and been going through it, reading it. Let me tell you, growing up, I thought this building was just kind of an old shoe building. My grandpa and I used to walk by it all the time and wonder what was inside. But it was a building. And the building has some really interesting, very surprising history. So you don't want to miss that episode. That'll be over the next three videos over the next 2 weeks, and that's going to move us into February when I will be back at the building and starting on more projects. So, okay, let's get started. This is a video that's in the front of the building. The camera's facing to the north, and it looks like this is part of the corporate group. And the reason I say that is there is not a scrap of denim anywhere in this photograph. There's no bibs, there's no aprons, there's no nothing. So this must be the Brain Trust, and I don't know what decade this is, but I'm guessing 1940s. Yeah, but really cool to look at. And the first thing that jumps out at me is I'm looking at windows that are not broken. Okay, moving on. Okay, so here we are up on the second floor in the annex, kind of the offshoot area. And yeah, this is a pretty cool picture. It's the edge trimming department. And these, these people are awesome. Look at these guys. Looks like it's mostly women. We've got a gentleman here, maybe a gentleman in the back, and mostly ladies. One thing that you'll see as we look through these pictures is that the Brown Shoe Company factory hired mostly women. The greater bulk of all the employees of this building are women, and you'll see that because there are some group photos and just huge numbers of women in the photographs. So that's pretty cool. Look at these shoe racks. When I bought the building, there weren't any of these. There were a couple of shoe racks, but they weren't these because these have these really cool handles on them. And it just makes me wonder what happened to all these. Are these in a landfill? Did they get scrapped? Did people buy them? Did they get sold in the auction? I have no idea. But one thing I do know is that these old shoe racks are super desirable. If you have one, you can sell it instantly for really good money. And whenever you see them at antique stores, they always say not for sale. They're for displaying the product in the booth or whatever. So those are really hard to come by and really cool. And I'd love to know where all these are today. It would be pretty interesting to know. So this guy right here in the middle is pretty interesting. He's got a bow tie, kind of like an Orville Redenbacher look going on. And I think that this jacket is actually kind of like a trench coat because I saw another photo, which we'll see later, and there's a guy standing, has kind of a trench coat looking thing and a bow tie on. So maybe it's the same guy. Let's check that out once we get to it. The Brown Shoe Company was probably the only major non-agrarian employer in the area. So there was the university, and there was the Brown Shoe Company, and then most of all of the other businesses, with the exception of the shops and so forth, uh, were all agriculture, farms, and that kind of thing. So this was like one of the very few places that you could go and work in industry. So they were kind of a cornerstone of the town. And here is a parade for the 50th anniversary of Eastern Illinois University, which is also located in Charleston, Illinois. And yeah, they're taking part in the parade. They've created a float. They put some of their product out here in the middle. And look at these, like, what do they call? Is this Edwardian, or these old dresses? Those are pretty cool. So I think that's probably a throwback, because the ladies here sitting in front are dressed a little bit uh, more modern in comparison. So, but yeah, that's really cool. All right, here is one of my absolute favorite pictures. It has a work crew, and there's lots of denim, lots of old American workwear. This guy, the second one on the bottom from the left, has like a really cool denim chore coat, and all of the bibs, which is what my grandpa wore his entire life. So just love this photo. They look like a bunch of knock around guys, and definitely hard workers. This was probably the parents of the greatest generation, right? One of the viewers commented that, I think his name was Chris, there may have been another one as well, that this was between the First and Second World War, and a lot of these folks, the boys mostly, and some of the other photographs likely could have been drafted to the war, and maybe came back, maybe didn't, and something to think about. One thing that I do notice in this picture is on the very right, toward the top, there is the time card slot box, and I still have that. I still have that. It's a little bit worse for wear, but I do still have it, which is pretty cool. And another thing that several people noted about this photograph is that the guy on the bottom on the right side really looks like Charlie Sheen. So yeah, Charlie Sheen is a train engineer. So, but yeah, it's cool. I love. I could look at these photographs for hours, just thinking about who this person was, and how much their life was different than the life that I live today. And yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. And here we are, and you can see what I was talking about earlier when I say that they were a major employer for women. Um, the highlights in the windows have kind of blown out the background, so I looked at this for a while, and I couldn't quite uh, place it beyond any doubt where exactly this was in the building. But yeah, so this is a lot of women in this picture. And then this guy that's down here on the bottom front row to the right looks like he's wish he was taking a nap. But yeah, look at this. So we got a bunch of the products stacked up in the background, and I love, in all these pictures, I'm looking at the hardware, the tables, the industrial lighting, all of that stuff. So sadly, most of it's gone. Almost all of it's gone. But I do have a lot of these lampshades. So this particular lampshade here, these on the right, I don't know if I have every one of them, but the majority of them I have collected up. So I actually have this thing. I can see it in this photo, and then I can go and I can hold it in my hand. And that's really awesome for me. So, okay, moving on. Okay, so here we are. I believe this is the second floor because of the lack of the heaters. For some reason, it seems that the most of the heaters were on the third floor, which is kind of odd to me because heat rises. You would think that if it was going to be on any floor, it would be on one of the lower floors. But I know for a fact that those heaters were installed in the very beginning, and you can see one on the in the upper right hand corner here, way down at the end of the hallway. You can just see that kind of dark square there. That's one of them, and those are kind of one of the main things that I'm using to kind of orientate myself where these places are in the building. but things have changed so much that I can't identify it in every single photograph. So I'll show you a few coming up here where I have no idea where they are. So look at all this industrial lighting. Don't have any of these hanging ones. Don't have a single one of them, sadly. The ones I have are these ones that are hanging up here in the middle toward the ceiling. And looks like they have a ton of product stacked up here, and some crates full of product in the background. And then these guys are all wearing those kind of early newsboy type caps, which is pretty cool. And love all the denim and the overalls. And then yeah, so this was the treeing department, and not exactly sure what a treeing department does. But if you do know what that is, then please leave that in the comments. I'd like to know. By the way, this particular photograph was taken on January 22nd, 1930, and it's cold in January. You know, in recent decades, we've had kind of more temperate winters, but even as a kid myself, I can remember it was colder and deeper snow. And that, I mean, maybe it just seemed that way to me, but as I talk to other people, older people, they say, yeah, we did have much worse winters back in the day. And here they are on the second or third floor. The place is gigantic. It's cavernous, and nobody here is wearing jackets or gloves or anything. So maybe the machinery puts off some heat. I don't know. But the building was heated well. So there are some giant water towers that were pressurized by gravity that went through a boiler system throughout the whole building. And actually made a video about the radiators. And the heater that I took down is actually, it operates on hot water from a boiler. So I would guess from this picture, knowing that this is in January, that it was a pretty effective system. So that's cool. Now, it's really hard for me to guess where some of these videos or some of these photographs were taken, because the second and the third floor are pretty much a carbon copy of each other, like I said before. And I'm just kind of guessing by the heaters. But I do notice here on the left side, kind of center in this main column here, that that electrical box I do recognize. So this was on the third floor. This is on the third floor on the furthest east end of the building. So tons of shoe carts, tons of product, and yeah. And this is the most frustrating picture of the entire collection. I have a couple times just thought, man, I don't know where this is. I do not know where this is. I have some suspicion, but there's only one place that I think it could be. And yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. So somebody at some point has covered a lot of the walls with paneling, so I don't have access to see these features like these doors and these doors here. So there is one pair of double doors that goes out into the area around where my fork truck is, the old fork truck, which you've seen probably in previous videos. And I'm thinking this door to the left could be that double door. And then this set of windows or door in the middle here, and the door on the right is behind paneling in the room where I have the lampshades stored. So if it's not there, I have no idea where it is. So what I've noticed is if I zoom out on this picture just a little bit, I can see which way the rafters are running. And in addition to knowing which way the rafters are running and knowing that over here on the right side is a corner, I can look at all the corners in the building and eliminate about half of them just by seeing where the corner is in relation to the direction of the floorboards. Another thing that I noticed here is this is kind of a wide open area and there are no beams except on the very left here. So that may be also a helpful indicator. So I don't know. We'll see. As I move forward with the renovation, I'm going to be removing paneling, and I think I'll have an aha moment at some point, and I'll know about it. So look at these tiny little industrial lights. Over here to the left, toward this machine in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a hanging task lamp, and it's just on a electrical wire that's hanging directly exposed from the ceiling, which is pretty awesome. Oh my gosh. You could not do that today, I don't think. Not in this kind of a setting. So looks like there's a couple more. If now that I notice it, I can see these kind of vertical cables hanging down. There are multiple instances of those task lamps. So love it, wonderful. Oh, and then you can also see on the roof up here the sprinkler system. Ah, that's another indicator. I can see that should be a dead. I mean, if I can't look at behind the paneling, that should be a dead giveaway because there's a T here and these offshoots. So I should be able to identify. Though some of it has been taken out, so we'll see. Okay, so here I believe we are on the third floor, once again on the east end, but we're actually looking toward the east this time. And because yeah, I'm sure of it. Oh, no, wait a second. No, we are all the way on the west end because I recognize in this middle column, right in the middle of the shot here, there's an electrical box. And I think I've even showed that box a couple times in different videos. Maybe in February and back, I can take a video of that and do a callback to it because that still exists right there in that exact same position. So, and then this heater is right here, and then in the back left-hand corner is another one. So, yeah, that's definitely the third floor on the west end of the building. So, yeah, so pretty incredible picture just looking at the folks. I guess you could wear hats inside the building during the work shift because everybody's got their hats on. So, so this is the buttoning department. I'm guessing they put the little metal ring that goes around where the shoestring passes through, and maybe some of the models had actual buttons on the shoes. So these would be the folks that were responsible for that. Okay, so this is called the lasting department. I'll have to Google that. I'm not sure what the lasting department would have been responsible for. They're on the second floor, kind of in the middle of the building, and yeah, we can see all the belt-operated machinery up here. A really cool kind of fan on that column, and the whole crew is here. It's interesting here because there must have been managers for each department, because what I've noticed is that mixed in the photograph are always certain people with bow ties and regular long neckties. The bow ties really catch me off guard because, you know, I associate that with tuxedos and like very formal occasions. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just a kind of a mutual counterpart to the ties that hang in a vertical orientation. I don't know. So that's pretty cool, though. And look at all these ladies. This department is just full of them. This building employed a ton of people. Like, this is one department on one floor of the building. And look at that crew. Look at that team. So pretty awesome. In the lower right-hand corner would be the probably the manager of the team. And then if you look over here to the left, not in the bottom corner, but pretty much the left side, we have a real Casanova. He's got his arms around two ladies at the same time. So this is definitely on the third floor because I recognize these. If you look on the ceiling over to the kind of to the left side, you see those bars. I guess that was for where the that's probably a radiator of some kind, because it's pipe that's just fed back and forth. So I'm guessing they would pump hot water through that, and it would help with heating the building, as maybe kind of a poor man's version of a radiator. But Definitely recognize that. So that is the third floor. And we are looking toward the east here. So we've got some of the sewing machines in the foreground here. And oh, I didn't check. What did this department do? This was the fitting department. So I guess they would fit. I don't know how they fit it when the customer's not here yet. So uh, no, I don't know what the fitting department does either. So this was on the 15th. So all of the photographs that we're looking at were not taken on the same day, but they were all 1930 in January, and yeah. So I guess in order to kind of orchestrate this whole thing, because this is a lot of people, they had to come back on several days to take the photographs. It just really goes to show you the impact that this building, that this company, that this employer in the community had. So everybody basically in the town had an uncle, cousin, mom, dad, or a grandparent or somebody that worked at the building. Okay, so here's another photograph taken 3 days later. This is also a fitting department, so I'm guessing that this is like a different shift or a different crew. Not sure, but yeah, this is another sea of faces. So this building was feeding hundreds and hundreds of families. This, I believe, is the second floor looking toward the east. Okay, so this was January 7th. This would have been one of the first pictures taken, and it is the machine cutting department. And looks like there's some ladies up here in the front in the lower corner here who are dressed up pretty snazzy. So I don't know if they were like part of the corporate team or if they just knew it was photo day, so they wanted to look their best. But there's a gentleman there sitting down while everybody else is working. I guess he's the boss. So yeah, and a couple more bow ties. Those bow ties just keep coming. And look at this. These two workers here on the right. He's got his arm around his buddy there. Just incredible. Just love this photograph. And we can see some of the heavy equipment. I guess these machines were made for cutting leather, the pieces that would be stitched together, go to the stitching department and be assembled. And though there was heating, there wasn't air conditioning. So that's why I think you can see on every single post, you can see these fans that are mounted to the columns. I don't know if you can see it, but it's really cool because it has that narrow top and then the flared out flange at the bottom that mounts onto the column, which is really neat. Okay, so that was the machine cutting department, and this is the hand cutting department. So apparently there were some pieces that weren't able to be cut by the machines, and these guys would come in and just cut piece after piece after piece all day long to supply the assembly department with scraps of leather that they needed to assemble the shoes. I'm talking about that like I actually know something, but I don't. Just speculation. And yeah, so anyway, yeah, we got our corporate guys here in the kind of toward the center on the right side. And yeah, this looks like a pretty laid back crew. I bet their job wasn't too bad. One thing is that I've been kind of looking at this photograph, and I don't know where it is because whatever this, if you look on the upper right hand corner, there's this wooden cage in the structure here. There are a couple of these around the building that are still standing, but not this one. This has been removed, so I don't have enough to go off to identify exactly where this was in the building. And here we are out front once again. No, actually, we're not out front. We're on the side of the building because you can look through to the window on the opposite side there. So they are probably on the north side of the building outside against the photographs. And these are some snazzy dressers. Also hard workers, I bet, but definitely snazzy dressers. Okay, I'm looking at some of these characters, and I just can't help but comment. There's an actor, and his name is... I had to cut that in because I had a lapse in my brain. Couldn't recall the name of the actor who I really like, who's one of my favorites. but for some reason I just could not recall the name. But doesn't that look like him right there, right in the middle, the one that's on one knee, and then the guy to his right, to your left, could be his bodyguard. That guy looks serious. He looks like a tough guy. Oh my gosh. And over on the front row, very bottom, looks like a Dillinger or somebody like that, like a real, you know, I don't want to say gangster because I respect every single one of these workers. But yeah, he's got that gangster style, that really cool uh, suit and top hat. So I just love these photographs. Okay, so here we are at the accounting department, and I have absolutely no idea where in the building this is. Uh, I cannot place it anywhere. So there must have been walls removed or something because this feature with that door and the way the wall on the right and the windows on the left are laid out, this does not exist. There's no place in the building that could match up to this. So there had to be some kind of remodeling done at some point or something. So this is the accounting department, and we know how times were. We got our two bosses, and then we have the crew who were the ladies. And let's not kid ourselves. We know who had the brain power in this department, who was crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and who was taking the credit. So, yeah, really cool. It just aggravates me to no end when I can't identify where in the building a certain photograph was taken. So. There's some really cool furniture over here on the left side. I wonder if any of that still exists. That's one of the things that kind of drives me crazy looking at these things. Is like, did that get scrapped and recycled? Is it like buried like 60 feet down in a landfill somewhere? Does somebody have it in a collection? Is it in somebody's attic? Where could that piece be? Because, it's just material. So it exists somewhere, right? I would just love to know where that stuff is today. And we have a photo bomber. If you look, there's a photo bomber in the window. If you look toward the back, he's just kind of sticking his head out there, taking a picture or taking a look at the photographer who's taking the picture. And now we're going to move into some of the pictures that I really like, which are the kind of architecturally focused photographs. And this was the original structure as it stood when it was first erected. So over here to the right, in front of this sign, was an annex that was added, I think, in the 30s or 40s, and it would have had restrooms. And in those restrooms, you would walk into a central room, and to the left or right would be the area with the bathrooms and stalls. But in the middle was like a coat rack and a place to have your break. So the break room was technically in the bathroom, which is kind of really weird. We wouldn't have that kind of thing today. And looking at the building here, look at the third floor. That is windows, and it doesn't look like there's a door. I think there was some kind of, because today when you look at the building, there are doors there, and back in the early days there weren't. So I'm thinking that these window panels were hinged in some way so that you could hinge them out and get access. But you can see the outline of a door here, but it also has those same square glass frames. So if you look in the middle, you can just barely make the outline of a door. And you could even, if you stare at it long enough, you could even see one on the third floor there. So, and then on the ground floor, the second window from the right is technically a door right now. So, yeah, there has been some remodeling, which makes me feel a little bit better about not knowing where that room was, because somebody over the years has removed walls, installed doors, taken stuff out, and I can't be too hard on myself if I can't locate something. And here's a pretty awesome picture. This is the second floor in the annex kind of area, and it's the stitching department. And so in one of the very first pictures that we looked at, there was a row of mostly ladies there, and today it's mostly men. So I'd be curious to find out how they divided these crews up. One interesting thing is that there are screens, if you look to the left, around each station, and I guess that's to keep people from losing fingers and that kind of thing. So, because around each machine is some kind of a mesh type barrier, and yeah, don't think that would work for OSHA these days. But yeah, so lots more cars, lots more product, and yeah. Oh, there's a sign there that says smoking on it. There was another photograph somewhere I saw that also said that, and like the top of the sign in giant letters it says smoking, and I'm wondering what it said just under that, because up in the elevator shaft there are some window screens, and they have like a little trap door in them. Somebody took them out and stuck them up in the machine room on the elevator. I have no idea why they did that, but I guess back in the day, if you needed a cigarette, you could walk over by the window, pop that little trap door open, and hold your arm out the window so that you were not technically smoking in the building. So, oh man, uh, awesome history, awesome history. Okay, so this department is called the bottoming department, and we've got some more of the protective cages around all of the equipment, and yeah, there's a guy with almost like a cowboy hat style hat there right in the middle. And when you look at these photographs around the building, and they show you, okay, this is second floor looking east, this is third floor looking west, this is in the annex, and every single floor, this place is jam packed with product. So they were not slacking. They came to work and they were working, and they were going to town. I'll tell you what. And the most interesting part is that the quality of this product was so much higher than what we have today. So not only are they just mass producing stuff, but they're mass producing it at a very high standard of quality. I think because the average age of the viewer on my channel is like 60 to 65 years old. Most of the people watching this video at some point in their life have probably wore or bought for their kids or whatever Buster Brown shoes. So it's like a kind of an icon of America. And here this was, it was going on in my hometown, and yeah, it's just so amazing. Case in point, drop down to the second floor from the third, and here we are, jam packed with product. Another team also have safety cages around their equipment. And there's the guy that I was mentioning earlier with the trench coat. If you look kind of like right in the middle of the photograph, there's a guy with a bow tie and a trench coat. I wonder if that was some kind of like a shift manager or something like that. Or you know what? He probably is the technician for the equipment. I bet. I bet he's the guy that went around and fixed things when they weren't working. Just a guess. Just a guess. If anybody knows, please let me know, because I'm dying to know. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those shoe carts. Those are easily worth like $1,000 each. Boggles the mind. Okay, here now we're getting into like the really old photographs, the really cool ones, and here are a bunch of old vehicles outside the building, and yeah, oh my gosh. So this kind of brings something up. What I was thinking about doing was, because I I love doing this YouTube thing. It's been so much fun, and I'd like to grow the channel. And so what I was thinking about doing was reaching out to a channel with like a really big subscriber base that does metal detecting, and have them come and then maybe call the local library, because they do field trips, and have just like a field trip to come audit the metal detectors, and we can search the property, because cars parked all the way around this building, and there were train tracks all over the place. And so it was basically like a parking lot for like 100 years. And so there's got to be interesting, cool things to be dug up on the property. So stay tuned. I have a plan. I've kind of picked out a couple channels that I would like to reach out to, and we'll see if anything comes of it. The problem is that there are no like really kind of large channels local to the area. So it would be somebody that had to travel, or they would be a much smaller channel. So, which I'm not against, but yeah, let's see what happens. And this is my absolute most favorite photograph from the outside of the building. This smoke on the top of that smokestack is incredible. Um, the image shows the railroad track that's still there to this day in the foreground. It shows the two water towers on the left that pressurize the boiler system for the entire building. Um, there was an equipment house kind of just in front of the smokestack, which no longer exists, but the foundation of it is still there. So it's got all of the cars parked around, and so you can see, like I was mentioning before, I like to metal detect. All that area is basically 3 acres that still exists with the building today, and it was a parking lot forever. So yeah, looking forward to that. And this predated the addition. So if you've seen the channel before, there's the room where the fork truck is, and there's the kind of round room with all the glass windows. And inside that room is this overhead door right here. And now there's been kind of a lower addition that covered up this sign. So this predates that. This will be a good indicator to kind of try to narrow in on when that addition was added. But this is just like a gorgeous photograph. Except for the videos with the workforce, if I was going to blow up a single photograph, I think this would be it. Like make this gigantic and hang it somewhere in the building. This picture is really interesting. Also very early. You can kind of tell just by looking at it. The building on the left was a dance hall. So the Brown Shoe Company would, they were very interested in adding value to the life of the employees, and this building was kind of like a community center, a social area where the staff could have dances and mix socially and that kind of thing. So that was out like right in front of the building, and it no longer exists. And I haven't seen any indicator of where the foundation was, but based on this picture, I could probably pretty easily figure it out. You can see the water tower in the background, and this must have been really early because it looks like there's only one water tower, so maybe this second one hadn't quite been erected yet. Oh yeah, here's a much clearer picture. Look at the size of those American flags flowing in the wind on top of the building. Incredible. This the first time I saw this picture, it kind of freaked me out because there are railroad tracks here. And I did not know that there were railroad tracks on this side of the building. And I thought, maybe this is the south end. But wait a minute, the tower's there. It's on the opposite. It has to be the northeast corner of the building. And I can confirm that because the dance hall is there to the left. It has to be. So there is no doubt that there were railroad tracks on the north side of the building. Love the flags. And those things are gigantic. Look at them. There's just like a different level of pride, just like a different level of, a sense of community and that kind of thing going on back in the day. This is a much later because I can see a Ford Mustang in the foreground. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that was a new Mustang back in the day. So you can see to the right here, the lower right-hand corner, that at this point, this is much later, and that little addition has already been erected. So yeah, that's there. And also they've added these dust collectors. So that's cool to see. This giant smoke tower is still there. And I'm sorry, this giant smoke tower has been removed as well as the water towers. But in Mattoon, where they're tearing the other building down, this smoke tower still exists and it's still up. So yeah, that's interesting because it's just a vertical column, and it has stood the test of time. It's cool to look kind of close up at these water towers because there's like a platform underneath them. And I think that they just got rid of them because it was a risk to the community, kids climbing up on them and things. Uh, you're going to find out later that there was a dead body found on the property. All kinds of stuff is coming up, so stay tuned. And here to the left, this fence line, that fence looks beautiful. Oh my gosh. So today it's like full of giant trees, which I couldn't even fit my arm around. So that just tells you uh, how fast those things grow. But and you know the fence is not in as great a condition just because vegetation has kind of grown through it and destroyed it. And but yeah, it's kind of cool to see how it looked originally before all that was growing. And here's a another view. So it's the back of the property, and the camera is sitting on the tracks to the south of the building. And when you first look at this, you might think that it's real late. I mean, real early. But as you notice there, kind of on the right side, that addition has already been built. So the interesting thing is that this picture is pretty old. This has been built, so that's telling me that that addition was probably like 1930s, 1940s or something. Because later on, we know it was there when the Mustang was there, so it had to be before 1950. But just looking at the age and the look of this photograph, I think it's kind of early. So that leads me to believe that 30s or 40s when that was erected. Here's another angle. They're taking a photograph, and it looks like, tell me, what do you think? Is that a trash chute on there, or is that some kind of a crane with a person standing in it? I don't know. And this is definitely an early one because the dance hall is there to the right, and the that addition is not up yet. So sadly, there's no date on this photograph. Oh, okay. So I just learned something. So I was right. If you look at first of all, this is a great picture. Love the cars in the foreground. There's a dust collector there on the front of the building, which is long gone. There are two of them that still exist in the back. But if you look at the fire escape doors, yeah, they're just windows basically that would have hinged in so that you could get out onto the fire escape. So that's really neat. I wish they were still like that. That would be incredible. But in the meantime, somebody has installed regular doors. Yeah. And now, so looking down the sidewalk directly at the front door, I also cannot square that in my mind. That brick, that lower area that's kind of protruding out there on the ground floor, today is actually about twice, it's another 50% longer going out toward the left. And then that door directly at the end of the sidewalk does not exist. So I think that was actually removed by hand, or I mean, it wasn't bulldozed, but it was demolished. Had to be because this does not exist today. So it looks like they removed the right side of that lower area, and then they also extended the left side of that lower area. So, man, this building is just a giant mystery in so many ways. This picture looks so gangster. Oh my gosh. This is another one that I should blow up gigantic. So this picture's got so much attitude. Ah, wow. The uh, the telephone wire posts on the right side aren't even straight. They're kind of crooked as you look down. Uh, the picture is like super grainy. The cars are old. They're just incredible. Love this photograph. Okay, and this is the photograph that I had mentioned earlier. There looks like they're erecting the second floor here right now. This is the process of putting the building up, and the photograph clearly says May 29th, 1919. And the reason that's important to me is that there's been a lot of speculation about when the building was actually erected, because some people were saying 1919, some people were saying 1909, And there were a couple different camps on that, but I think this definitively settles it. It was built in 1919, and I think I can take that to the bank. Uh, the reason I really love this photograph is I see these guys working. This kind of reminds me of like the old black and white photographs where they're excavating in Egypt. Um, and it's like it seems like there's like a historical kind of gravity to the photograph or whatever. I get that feeling when I look at this photograph and I think to myself, that column right there. I mean, because this photograph looks like it's otherworldly. And when I look at it and I think to myself, I can go and touch that column. I know where that column is. And that is the exact same column that has stood there for 100 years supporting all that weight. And yeah, so this photograph goes on my favorites list. Okay, so here we are at the hand cutting department again. We looked at this photograph earlier, but I wanted to come back to it because I found a different copy of this picture, and now I can see much more. I can kind of orient myself where it's at, and they've actually somebody's gone in with a pen and written some initials on. So if you're from Charleston and you're watching this video, you might know some of these folks. So that would be cool. If you do, you could tell me, at what minute and second and what picture and who that is and how you know them and if they're in your family or whatever. So that would be great to hear. Now I can tell, like I said, where it's at because right toward the upper half of the picture, right kind of in the middle, you can see through to the opposite wall with the windows. That's the long area of the building from east to west. And then just to the left of the center line of this photograph is the elevator. And you can see that the doors are in the up position and it's open, which is a safety hazard. Not only is it open, but the doors on the opposite side are also open, so you can see through it to the windows on the other side. So I don't know how they kept people from just falling off. Maybe back in those days, people just had more sense. Maybe they just had more sense and they wouldn't fall off. So, okay, yeah, and then toward the left, you can kind of see, wow, the photographer was from Washington, D.C., came all the way from Washington, D.C. I bet the photographer was traveling around to all of the buildings and photographing all of the crews. I don't know that, but if they came from Washington, D.C. all the way to do this photograph, then probably it was part of something a little bit larger than Charleston, Illinois' factory. And yeah, last thing is you can see these columns that I was just talking about in the previous photograph. They're right here. This would have been 11 years after that photograph was taken. And something else that I had mentioned earlier in the video was this was right before World War II. So these are the young men that could have been drafted or could have, volunteered to go. Had no idea what was ahead of them. Okay, so this is the town square, and this was the kind of business center for the town, and you can see that all these cars are lined up. All of these people, probably the majority of them, actually worked at the Brown Shoe Building. So this is not very far from the building. You could probably walk between the place where this photograph was taken and the Brown Shoe Building in like 8 minutes, probably 10 minutes max, and you would be there. So, and then to wrap up, another absolutely gorgeous photograph. This one has, it's really bright, well exposed. It's not too grainy. You can see it, and just the railroad track is in the foreground, which is something new to me. And yeah, so I love looking at these photographs. I could look at them for hours and hours, days and days. And yeah, this is just something I wanted to share with you guys. And like I said, it's part of 3 videos that I'm going to be uploading. This is the first one. Next week, we're going to do the scrapbook that was put together by the editor of the local paper. And he put a lot of content in there about the Brown Shoe. And then finally, in in 2 weeks, I'm going to upload a video about all the research that we did and some pretty crazy stories that happened. So looking forward to that. And thanks again. I know we didn't do a whole lot of stuff in the building today, but I think that this is pretty interesting because it gives a lot of context about the reason, the importance, why it's a worthy goal to restore it, salvage it, save it, and preserve it. So thank you guys again, and see you next week.